Hello, this is Miss Pat from Samuel's Public Library. This week in Science Scouts, we're going to learn about Oobleck, and we're going to try to make a snowman out of Oobleck. Now, some of you might be saying, what's Oobleck? So we're going to read about Bartholomew and the Oobleck by Dr. Seuss. And we're going to learn about where it is and can it really come from the sky. They still talk about it in the kingdom of Did, as the year the king got angry with the sky. And they still talk about the page boy, Bartholomew Cubbins. If it hadn't been for Bartholomew Cubbins, that king in that sky would have wrecked that little kingdom. Bartholomew had seen the king get angry many, many times before. But that year, when His Majesty started growling at the sky, Bartholomew Cubbins just didn't know what to make of it. Yet all that year, the old king did it. All year long, he stared up into the air above his kingdom, muttering and sputtering, the things that come down from that sky. And all spring, when the rain came down, he growled at that. All summer, when the sunshine came down, he growled at that. What did he think was going to come down from the sky? All autumn, when the fog came down, he growled at that. And that winter, when the snow came down, he started shouting, this snow, this fog, this sunshine, this rain, bah, these four things that come down from the sky. But King Derwin, Bartholomew tried to calm him, you've always had these same four things come down. That's just the trouble, bellowed the king. Every year, the same four things. I'm tired of these old things. I want something new to come down. But that's impossible, Bartholomew gasped. You just can't have it. Boy, don't you dare tell me what I can and cannot have. I am king. I know, sire, said Bartholomew. You rule all the land, and you rule all the people. But even kings can't rule the sky. Can't, huh? His Majesty flew into a terrible rage. Well, maybe other kings can't do it, but maybe I'm the one king who can. You mark my words, Bartholomew Cubbins. I will have something new come down. But how to get something new to come down? For many days, the old king stomped around trying to figure out how to do that. Then finally, late one night, when all the lords and ladies of the palace were fast asleep, and as the king was buttoning up his nightshirt, he suddenly stopped still. Strange wild light began to shine in his eyes. Of course, he began laughing. They can do it for me. Bartholomew Cubbins, blow my secret whistle. Quick, call my royal magicians. Your magicians, your majesty? Bartholomew shivered. Oh no, your majesty, don't call them. You hold your tongue, Bartholomew Cubbins. You do as I command you. Blow my secret whistle. Yes, sire, Bartholomew bowed, but your majesty, I still think that you may be very sorry. He took the king's secret whistle from its hook. He blew a long, low blast down the king's back secret stairway, and a moment later he heard them coming, up from their musty hole beneath the dungeon. Up and right into the room they came chanting, Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff, Fista, wista, Mr. Cuff. We are men of groans and howls, mystic men who eat boiled owls. Tell us what you wish, O king. Our magic can do anything. I wish, spoke the king, to have you make something fall from my skies that no other kingdom has ever had before. What can you do? What will you make? For a moment they stood thinking. Then they spoke a word, one word, Oobleck. Oobleck? Asked the king. What will it look like? Won't look like rain, won't look like snow, won't look like fog. That's all we know. We just can't tell you any more. We've never made Oobleck before. They bowed and they started toward the door. We go now to our secret cave on Mystic Mountain Nekatave. There all night long we'll work for you, and you'll have Oobleck when we are through. They'll do something crazy, whispered Bartholomew. Call them back, your majesty, stop them. Stop them? Not for a ton of diamonds, chuckled the king. Why, I'll be the mightiest man that ever lived. Just think of it. Tomorrow I'm going to have Oobleck. It took Bartholomew a long time to get the excited king to sleep that night, but there was no sleep for Bartholomew, the page boy. All night long he stood in the king's window staring out at the mystic mountain Niktav. Somewhere up there, Bartholomew knew, the magicians were working their terrible magic. All night long, magicians did. All night they walked circles around their magic fire, making magic mumbling with their clicking tongues. Oh, snow and rain are not enough. Oh, we must make some brand new stuff. So feed the fire with wet mouse hair, burn an onion, burn a chair, burn a whisker from your chin, and burn a long sour lizard skin. Burn yellow twigs and burn red rust, and burn a stocking full of dust. Make magic smoke green thick and hot. It sure smells dreadful, does it not? That means the smoke is now just right, so quick before the day gets light. Go, magic smoke, go high, go rise into the kingdom sky. Go make the Oobleck tumble down on every street in every town. Go make the wondrous Oobleck fall. Oh, bring down Oobleck on us all. Dawn was just breaking, and Bartholomew was still standing. But now, as the sun rose, he smiled. Those silly magicians hadn't done a thing. Then, suddenly, he stopped smiling. Was he seeing things? No, there was something strange up there in the sky. At first, it seemed like a little greenish cloud, just a wisp of greenish steam. But now it was coming lower, closer, down toward the fields and farms and houses of the sleeping little kingdom. Tiny little greenish specks were shimmering in the air right over his head. Queer little greenish blobs just about the size of grape seeds. He stretched out his hand. He started to catch one. Then he pulled his hand back. There was something frightening about those blobs. He slammed the window shut. Wake up, your majesty, he shouted. Your Oobleck, it's falling. The king sprang out of his royal bed sheets. By my royal whiskers it is, he cried. Oh, that beautiful Oobleck, and it's mine, all mine. I don't like the looks of those blobs, sire, said Bartholomew. They're coming down now as big as greenish peanuts. The bigger the better, laughed the king. Oh, what a day. I'm going to make it a holiday. I want every man, woman, and child in my kingdom to go out and dance in my glorious Oobleck. Out in that stuff? Asked Bartholomew. Do you really think it's safe, sire? Stop asking foolish questions, snapped the king. Boy, you run to my royal bell tower. Wake my royal bell ringer. Tell him to ring the great holiday bell. For a moment, he didn't move. Run, barked the king. Bartholomew ran. We got green stuff falling out of the sky. Across the sleeping palace, Bartholomew ran. He ran up the ladder of the high bell tower. Ring your bell, he called. His Majesty the King proclaims today a holiday. The old man crawled out of his cot. He grabbed the bell rope. What's the holiday for, Bartholomew? You'll find out soon enough, he said. The bell ringer yanked the rope, but nothing happened. He yanked it harder. Still nothing happened. What's wrong with my bell, he murmured. I'd better take a look outside. And he poked his head out through the little trap door. Merciful gracious, he gulped. What is that all over my bell like green molasses? Not only your bell, Bartholomew cried. Look at that poor robin down there in that tree. She's stuck to her nest. She can't move a wing. That Oobleck's gooey. It's gummy. It's like glue. Ooh, the bell ringer wrung his hands. If that green stuff sticks up robins, it'll stick up people too. Someone's got to warn the people, cried Bartholomew. Got to wake them and warn them to stay inside their houses. I'll tell the royal trumpeter. He turned and slid like lightning down the bell tower ladder. Not so good, is it? To the trumpeter's tower raced Bartholomew Cubbins. As he ran, he could hear the plop-plop of the Oobleck on the window panes. It was pelting against the palace walls as big as greenish cupcakes now. He yanked the covers off the snoring trumpeter. He shoved the cold trumpet right into his sleepy hands. Get up! Warn the people! Blow the alarm! Alarm? Yawned the trumpeter. Then his eyes saw the Oobleck. Those green things, Bartholomew, where'd they come from? The king, his royal magicians made them. That king of ours should be ashamed. The royal trumpeter leapt from his bed. I'll blow, he shouted, the loudest alarm that's ever been heard in the kingdom of Did. But all the royal trumpeter blew was a glug. My horn, he gulped. One of those green things flew inside it. He tried to blow it out. He couldn't. He tried to shake it out. He couldn't shake it out. I'll get it somehow, he yelled. I'll pull it out. No, shouted Bartholomew, don't touch it. But the trumpeter's hand was already in. His fingers grabbed hold of the lump of Oobleck. He could feel it swiggle around in his fist like a slippery potato dumpling made out of rubber. He pulled with all his might, and the Oobleck began to stretch. I can't wiggle a finger, the trumpeter wailed. Oh, Bartholomew, what'll I do? I don't know, but I hate to leave you stuck to your horn. But if you can't warn the people, I've got to find someone who can. And he ran out of the room. Down to the chamber of the captain of the guards. The captain was humming in front of his mirror, combing the ends of his handsome mustache. Captain, do something, shouted Bartholomew. Do something? Why? Smiled the captain. What's wrong? Captain, haven't you seen the dreadful Oobleck? It's coming down now as big as greenish baseballs. Oh, that stuff, laughed the captain. What's so dreadful about it? You know, I think it's rather pretty. Captain, it's dangerous, said Bartholomew. Nonsense, lad. Are you trying to frighten me? Captains, my boy, are afraid of nothing. That stuff's harmless. I'll show you. I'll eat some. Eat? Oh, no. But before Bartholomew could stop him, the captain was leaning out his window, scooping up some Oobleck on the end of his sword. Captain, don't! It's not like snow, huh? But the captain did. And by the time Bartholomew dragged him back inside the room, his mouth was glued tight shut with Oobleck. He tried to speak, but no words came out. All he could do was blow a lot of little, sticky, greenish bubbles. Forgive me for leaving you, Captain, said Bartholomew, but a captain full of bubbles is no help at all. I'll get the king's horses, Bartholomew said. I'll ride through the country and warn the people of the kingdom myself. He opened the door to go outside and stopped. He could go no further. The awful Oobleck was pumping down as big as greenish footballs now. Too late to warn the people of the kingdom. There were farmers in the field getting stuck to hoes and plows, and goats getting stuck to ducks, and geese getting stuck to cows. And outside the palace it was piling up, great greenish tons of Oobleck, deeper and deeper on every roof in the land. There was nothing Bartholomew could do out there. Shaking his head sadly, he stepped back inside. But inside a moment later, it was just as bad as out. With an angry roar, the Oobleck was suddenly hitting the palace harder. Like a sinking sailboat, the whole palace was springing leaks. The Oobleck was ripping the windows right off their hinges. It was dripping through the ceilings and rolling down the chimneys. From every bedroom in the palace came the howls of lords and ladies. Frightened in their nightgowns, they came jumping to their doors. Go back to your beds, get under your blankets. Bartholomew Cubbins went crying through the halls. But nobody paid the slightest attention. Everyone in the palace started rushing madly about. The royal cook rushed down to the royal kitchen. Bartholomew saw him trapped there, stuck to 3 stew pots, a teacup, and a cat. The royal laundress rushed outside to save her laundry. Bartholomew saw her stuck tight to the clothesline between 2 woolen socks and the king's best Sunday blouse. He saw the royal fiddlers. They were stuck to their royal fiddles. Everywhere he ran, he saw someone stuck to something. Every last friend he had in the world was flopping and floundering, all hopelessly caught in the goo. Then suddenly he gasped, "The king! Where was the king?" He'd forgotten all about him. It was in the throne room that Bartholomew found him. There he sat, old King Derwin, proud and mighty ruler of the kingdom of Did, trembling, shaking, helpless as a baby. His royal crown was stuck to his head. The seat of his royal pants was stuck to his royal throne. Oobleck was dripping from his royal eyebrows. It was oozing into his royal ears. "Fetch my magicians, Bartholomew," he commanded. "Make them say some magic words. Make them stop the Oobleck falling." Bartholomew shrugged his shoulders. "I can't fetch them, your majesty. Their cave on Mountain Nikatav is buried deep in Oobleck." "Then I must think of some magic words," groaned the king. "Oh, what are those words my magicians say? Shuffle, duffle, muzzle, muff. That's all I can remember, and they don't do any good. The Oobleck keeps on falling harder." He's the one that asked for it, right? Bartholomew Cubbins could hold his tongue no longer. "And it's going to keep on falling," he shouted, "until your whole great marble palace tumbles down. So don't waste your time saying foolish magic words. You ought to be saying some plain simple words." "Simple words? What do you mean, boy?" "I mean," said Bartholomew, "this is all your fault. Now, the least you can do is to say the simple words, 'I'm sorry.'" No one had ever talked to the king like this before. "What?" he bellowed. Me say I'm sorry? Kings never say I'm sorry, and I am the mightiest king in all the world." Bartholomew looked the king square in the eye. "You may be a mighty king, but you're sitting in Oobleck up to your chin, and so is everybody else in your land. And if you won't even say you're sorry, you're no sort of king at all." He turned his back and started for the throne room door. But then Bartholomew heard a great deep sob. The old king was crying. "Come back, Bartholomew. You're right. It is all my fault. And I am sorry. Oh, Bartholomew, I'm awfully, awfully sorry." And the moment the king spoke those words, something happened. Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "I'm sorry." Maybe there was something magic in those simple words, "It's all my fault." Maybe there was, and maybe there wasn't. But they say that as soon as the old king spoke them, the sun began to shine and fight its way through the storm. They say that the falling Oobleck blobs grew smaller and smaller and smaller. And that they say that all the Oobleck that was stuck on all the people and all the animals just simply, quietly melted away. And then they say Bartholomew took the old king by the sleeve and led him up the stairs of the high bell tower. He put the bell rope in His Majesty's royal hands, and the king himself rang the holiday bell. Then the king proclaimed a brand new national holiday in honor of the 4 perfect things that come down from the sky. The king now knew that these 4 old-fashioned things, rain, sun, fog, and snow, were good enough for any king in all the world, especially for him, old King Derwin of Did. Okay, so what you guys are going to need 2 things to make Oobleck. Okay, and if you come into the library and get a kit, we're going to give you a 1/2 cup of cornstarch. That's all you need, 1/2 cup of cornstarch. We'll already have it measured out, okay, but it's 1/2 cup of cornstarch and 1/4 cup, 1/4 cup of water. Now add the water a little bit at a time. Okay, I took a bowl, put the cornstarch in here. Now, kind of looks a little wet. When I first did it, it kind of looked like it was very wet. And you just kind of mix it up, and it's going to look like it's still wet around the sides and dry in the middle, right? But it's not. Okay, so I can pull this thing up. It's kind of like clay. Might need a little bit more water because mine's been sitting here now, so it's kind of been drying out. Okay, And you mix it together, and it's not going to be able to mix it with a spoon. You might have to mix it with your hands. You can try it with a spoon. I would suggest a wooden spoon or a metal spoon, not a plastic. It'll break. Okay? Now, I got a snowball. I want you guys to look while I make my other snowball, because I'm trying to make a snowman. You might have to let it sit a while like I did, because when I first tried this right away, it was just oozing all over the place. All right, so here's my snowman. I'm going to put him on top. Okay, and you guys will get another little paper, and you can try and decorate your snowman, put your nose on him. You're going to get littler eyes. All right, try and decorate him before he falls down. Now again, you might have to let it sit a while. I don't know if you can see that my bottom one is kind of melting a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to take out little eyes. Okay. If you do it right away, when you first make it like I did earlier, it's going to keep sinking down like a pancake. Now, I let it sit here for the entire time I read that story. So it's actually taking longer now to do that. So right away, even though it looks like it's solid, okay, it's not really solid. By the way, it makes a lot of this stuff. I can make a third one if I wanted to. Okay. Now it's a little crumbly. You could add more water. But if you add more water, it's going to almost turn into something like slime. Now, if you get it all over the place, if you get it on your rug, just let it dry. Because then all it's going to do is the water is going to evaporate and you're going to end up with cornstarch again. Just powder, and then you can just vacuum it up. Okay, or brush it off the table. If it's a little too wet, you might have to add a little bit more cornstarch. All right. But this is what Oobleck is. Whoops, kind of sticks to there. So it will come up with water on a sponge. It does not come up like kinetic sand. Okay. When you first get it, like I said, it's going to be a little bit mushy. So you might want to let it sit there a little bit, dry out. Still not coming up like kinetic sand. Okay, so the idea is try and make a snowman out of it. Okay, and the instructions will be on the paper that you get with the kit. They'll tell you even how to clean it up. Okay, it does not really stretch. You could add food coloring. I did not add food coloring to mine because I wanted to make a snowman. A snowman are usually white, right? But you could make it whatever color you want if you want. I would suggest add the food coloring to the water and then add it to the cornstarch. It's easier to mix then, okay? Now, I do want to explain to you though why it does this. So, all right, so we all know there's 3 states of matter, right? There's solid, there's liquids, there's gases. Right, gas molecules are really far apart. Liquid, a little bit closer together, but solids are really, really close together, usually when it's cold. Now, this stuff, especially when you first make it, is not either one. Now you can see here, this is kind of like what I have right now, right? What they have there in the yellow. And then that one on the right is what it was when I first made it, all right? This is called non-Newtonian. It can be switched between a solid and a liquid depending on what's touching it, okay? And you guys actually use a lot of that stuff at home. Toothpaste, that's not really a solid, but it's not a liquid. It doesn't pour out like water. Ketchup, peanut butter, jelly, Jell-O, honey, okay? They're not solids, but they're not liquids. They are called non-Newtonian fluids, meaning they can kind of switch. They're solid enough to kind of stay there, but they really don't hold a shape. They hold the shape of whatever the container is that they're in. Okay, but they don't pour out. Right? And that's what this stuff is. Okay? If I kind of hold it like this, after a while, he's going to fall down. All right? Especially the more heat that I apply to it. All right? So that's what this is. It's not one of those states. So if you guys come into the library after you watch the video, before you watch the video, ask for the kit, and you guys can make your own Oobleck, okay? On the instructions, it even tells you how to keep it so it doesn't get moldy. So have fun with it, take some pictures, come back in to show me, share with me, okay? Have a good day. Hope you had a great New Year.